Welcome everyone to the next lecture of Osha online training. Today our topic is the second part of our previous video, that is first aid emergencies. So the question is, what are some of the emergency situations which need first aid? The first one is shock. If a shock occur to a person due to some reason, in that case, in the first aid, a person should be laid down on the floor or some other area and have a blanket or something else in order to cover him. And both of his feet should be raised up. So this is a normal first aid procedure in case of shock to a person. The second case is no breathing. If a person is unable to breathe, then CPR should be provided. So, what is CPR? It is a resuscitation procedure, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So, in that case, what we do in the first aid by providing CPR in the first aid, we mean person should be lay down on his back and perform chest compressions. We have to give chest compressions with our hand. A first aider will perform chest compression by placing both his hands on a person's chest and do some compressions. And we have to provide breathing and air into his mouth and do it until some high level of emergency personnel arrived. So all of these steps should be done until some high level of emergency helps arrived. So these are some of the procedure in case of no breathing in first aid. So here you can see that in the picture, with both hands you have to position in such a way and you have to place it on the chest of an affected person and give compressions. The next type is in the heart attack. If heart attack occur to a person, then what we have to do and what first aid we have to provide. The first step is to call the emergency so that he can be immediately shifted to the hospital. And meanwhile, you have to loosen his clothing and provide some medication if he have some. So if he have some medication already suggested by the paramedics or doctors, so in that case you have to provide to the affected person. If bleedings occurs, then in that case do stop the bleed with some means. You have to try to stop the bleed of an injured person, and the wounded area should be covered with some material, either some bandage or something else. You have to put a little bit pressure on the area which has been cut so that the blood has been stopped. And lastly, put ice on the amputated part. If some part is cut, so in that case you have to put ice on it. It is What if choking occurs to a person? In case of choking, you have to ask the individual to cough or speak and perform right away five back blows. Hitting 5 times from backside with hands is called back blows, and do abdominal thrust. Repeat second and third. Now, what is choking? Choking is also the case when a person is not able to breathe because of some objects he have inhaled or some other reasons. It is due to the reason when there is some obstruction in the upper airways, breathing airways. So in that case, we perform abdominal thrust. What is abdominal thrust? Abdominal thrust is a procedure in which the affected person has been held from back and his upper abdominal region has been pressed. When you press the upper abdominal region of a person who feels choking, so in that case, it is called abdominal thrust. So five back blows and abdominal thrust you have to repeat. In case of electrical shock, don't touch the individual. If there is some electricity shock to a person, then in that case, don't touch him. Turn all the power sources off and call the emergency service. But in that time, disposition or dislocate the person from the living wire. If he is still connected with the living wire, you have to do something in order to disconnect him from the living wire. Check his breathing if having or not. You have to check his breathing if he is breathing already or not. The last one is heat exhaustion. When someone has been in the heat and he feel exhausted from the heat, then in that case you have to shift the person to a cool area in order to reduce the effect of heat. Next, you have to lay him down and loosen his clothing. And then you have to provide some water or fluids, juices, etc. And lastly, you have to perform cool compressions. Compressions like not hard compressions, but just compress his chest and a little bit. So it is called cool compression. So, guys, this was about emergency situations in first aid. I hope that you will like it. If you have any questions, then ask me in the comment section. Thanks, take care, and bye.